Good evening, and welcome to our show, Brookfield Public Advocate. I'm your host, Bruce Senek. Tonight's guest is Paul Garizio, longtime Brookfield resident. Paul is a member of Brookfield's Volunteer Fire Department. He's also past president of the Housatonic Valley Region chapter of the Antique Automobile Club, and when I met him 6 years ago when I moved to Brookfield, was very welcoming to me when I joined this chapter. President Paul, thanks for coming and welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you very much, Bruce.
Please tell our viewers a little bit about Brookfield's Volunteer Fire Department.
Well, Brookfield Volunteer Fire Department Candlewood Company is located in Candlewood Shores. Originally started with the Reynolds brothers, Ralph and Ray, who started Candlewood Shores back, I think it was in the 40s, after the war. They bought the property and started developing it with small, basically cottages for the summer residents, basically summer, mostly summer residents. And what they did is they found somewhere along the line that if they brought in a fire department or had a fire truck, close proximity, that he could make an advantage to the owners of cheaper fire insurance. So what he did, the two brothers, one became the chief and one became the president of the fire department. They bought an old fire truck, I think it was a 1936 Chevrolet open cab, and they stuck it in the basement of the old office at Candlewood Shores. And eventually it evolved into becoming, it actually was, after the lake was made, that particular part was New Fairfield. And then when the fire department became more organized, it became a New Fairfield Volunteer Fire Company B, which stayed on until late 50s, early 60s, when that particular part of Brookfield, or New Fairfield actually, was annexed into Brookfield. Had to do with the town of New Fairfield paying the town of Brookfield so many dollars per student for the kids to go to Brookfield schools that were actually New Fairfield residents, technically. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in the late 50s, early 60s, it came to be that the town of New Fairfield no longer wanted to pay for having the kids go to Brookfield schools, and decided that they would have them bus them from Brookfield through Danbury into New Fairfield to go to New Fairfield schools. Well, that stirred up a real hornet's nest.
I'm sure.
And basically what happened was they ended up annexing that section, including, I think it was also Arrowhead Point, and then the shores basically got annexed into Brookfield. And then, of course, we could no longer be New Fairfield Volunteer Fire Company B, so they decided to call it Brookfield Volunteer Fire Department Candlewood Company Incorporated. So that's how it came to be Candlewood Company. The original building, which is located in Candlewood Shores on Bayview Drive, was built by the Reynolds brothers. It was a little two-bay station with one truck, and back in the mid-50s, I think it was, 54, 55, they bought a Ford General. General was the one that put the pump and made it into a fire truck on a commercial chassis of a Ford. And there was two trucks, and then as the years went on, it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now we have three trucks, two pumpers. Engine 21 carries 1,000 gallons of water, pumps 1,250 gallons a minute. Engine 22 carries 1,000 gallons of water and pumps 1,750 gallons a minute. So unfortunately, we don't carry quite enough water to, if you think about the 1,000 gallons and 1,750 a minute, it doesn't take long to get rid of that water.
That's for sure.
So we have support from Headquarters Company on Pocono with tankers, and in Candlewood Shores, we're lucky enough to have hydrants, which now the town is starting to get all over, which is great for us. We have a truck we call Rescue 23, which is name's going to be changed because we don't carry all the rescue equipment on it. With us purchasing engine 22, We put a lot of the rescue equipment, the Jaws of Life, and a lot of the other rescue equipment is on that now. And Rescue 23 is going to be, I think eventually is going to have the name changed to Air 23 because it does have a compressor on it for filling our air bottles. So we can bring that to the scene if we have a large fire where we need to, where the guys have to use up the air tanks, and we have to keep refilling it, and then we can do it with our truck. It's been called to Danbury. It's been called out to assist up into Milford and some other areas too. And we also have 2 boats at Candlewood.
Really?
We have a 16-foot aluminum boat that we use for hauling our portable pump and hose out to the islands when people forget to put out their campfires in the summertime. We also have a rescue boat, Marine 25 we call it. It has a drop front on the, so if we have to pick somebody up out of the water, we don't have to drag them over the gunnels of the boat. We can bring them right up the ramp that actually drops down into the water below the water level. So you can bring somebody right in if we have to rescue it. It also has a setup so we can pump 1,000 gallons a minute, and it has a deluge gun on it. So if we get something on the lakeside, we can bring the boat up, and as long as we have 3 feet of water, we can anchor the boat there and pump with the deluge gun right onto the fire scene, which has been used up at Vaughn's Neck for a couple of brush fires that they've had up there. So we're kind of utilitarian, and the boats can be pulled out if we have to take them over to Lake Lilinoa. Unfortunately, I think it was last year, there was a gentleman that drowned. And so we pulled our boats out of Candlewood and brought them over to Lilinoa. So we can just about respond to just almost anything that you can think of. It's not just fires that we do. Right now we have about 36 active members. We have 6 probationary members, and we have 3 auxiliary members.
Now, is that just in your station?
That's just in Candlewood. We have, of those, we have 11 state certified firefighter 1, 11 that are state certified firefighter 2. We have 8 EMTs, which are emergency medical technicians. And we have 4 MRTs, which are just a step below the EMT. I've been a member there since 1962. Unfortunately, due to some age and some other things, I'm not a line firefighter anymore, and there I do the fire police. I'm the guy that blocks the road and tells you you can't go that way today for whatever reason. Basically because we have a motor vehicle accident, or we have a fire call, or we have down power lines. Just a lot of different things that we do, and you know, some of them are just public service things.
Yeah. Now, as you just mentioned, not just fire, but accidents, power outages. Do you rescue cats?
If we have to. Talking about
up the tree.
Yes. It's funny, talking about a cat. I would say probably 30 years ago, we had a call from a lady up in New Milford at the Candlewood Lake Club whose canary got loose. We spent 2.5 hours with the guys chasing that canary around. And the lady was out on her deck with the cage and calling the bird, and we're chasing it from tree to tree to tree. One of our guys was very spry and was up and down the ladder running back and forth. And after 2.5 hours, the little canary just flew right back in his cage.
When he was good and ready.
when he was getting tired, I guess he just decided. But that's some of the more comical calls that we've had.
I thought you were going to tell me a cat had some feathers coming out of the mouth.
No, not quite.
Okay.
But it's, you know, I mean, in this past season where we had all the excess rain, we were out pumping basements out. Wow. Only problem is that with the equipment that we have, it's made for drafting out of lakes and ponds. So anything under about 1 foot of water anything less than a foot of water, there's not really much
Doesn't
we can
work.
do
Yeah.
with the trucks, with the pumps. We bring a portable pump that usually pumps approximately 300 gallons a minute. So, but still, unfortunately, we can't get it down like a shop vac or something along that line.
All right.
We've had calls where people have locked themselves out of their houses, where we've gone and found a window open and one of the guys has gone up through the upstairs and gone through. Firemen, we have other ways of getting in your house if we have to, but it's, we try. There's a saying where the guys are going to beating it on the door with an axe, and the chief comes up and turns the knob and poof, up the door goes in. So the first rule of thumb is when you have to get into the house, check the door
Check the
first.
knob, right.
If you turn the knob and it opens, okay, you can put the axe away.
Okay. What would you say in a typical year? How many calls does the department respond to? If there is a typical
I did a
year?
quick check with the chief, and it's between 450 to 475 on an average year. Sometimes we've had years where we had 600 calls. It's difficult to say. I mean, you lump them all together. If we've had a lot of bad weather, more calls. We're out chasing down power lines. And unfortunately, sometimes, which is my part, where I go out and I have to block the road for power lines, and we have to wait for CLP to either kill the power or clear the problem. And unfortunately, we've been out 6 and 7 hours at a time. And as you know, Brookfield is all volunteer, so it's a lot of hours spent away from home.
Sure is.
For nothing, so to speak.
Right.
So it's, we're not there for the money, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of good people that go out in the middle of the night when everybody else is sleeping to take care of certain problems. And fire alarms are another thing too. False alarms are the biggest pain in the neck. We've had places, and I won't mention where they are, that it was 3 and 4 times a week that we were getting false alarms. I remember going to one call, I got there, and unfortunately, I was the only one that showed up. It was like, the old story about crying wolf. It just got to, finally, they got new people in there and they redid the whole alarm system.
Yeah. Are there, for that many false alarms, are there fines? Or?
There is in play, depending on the situation. Now, if there's a lot of lightning and thunderstorms around, then we usually, a lot of it can be weather related.
Right.
We do have a form that we fill out and we give it to the people. It's not a summons, but it's just an accounting of that you've had a false alarm. After, I don't have the regulation. I think it's after 3 you can be fined. I don't remember what the fine is, probably $50, maybe $100. But it's not a big deal, but it's when you have an alarm where it continually comes in for no reason,
Sure.
Eventually you get to the point where you're saying, well, less and less people are going to end up going on these calls.
Yeah.